Today's guest on Meinl Radio is Juan Carlito Mendoza. Juan came on board with Meinl Cymbals in 2013 after winning the Guitar Center Drum-Off. As a sponsor of the event, we were one of the companies that Juan could choose to be endorsed by as part of his prize package. Needless to say, obviously, from the fact that I'm doing this podcast with Juan, he chose to go with us. Juan was already accomplishing a lot in his life at that point. He was already a successful music teacher in the public school system in New Jersey. He wasn't dreaming of stardom or a massive online presence that could be used as some kind of bragging right. He literally was just a guy that wanted to be the best drummer he could be and help share his knowledge and wisdom on the instrument with any and all willing students. And he's still that guy. A few years back, we filmed a series of videos with Juan. I was blown away by the complexity of his drumming and the ease with which he played, despite how complex it was. Juan was all smiles the whole time. He nailed his takes quickly, really efficiently. I mention his smiling throughout the session because that sums him up pretty well. He's an extremely grateful guy. He's always thankful for everything that's come his way. But he's no dummy. He knows that everything that has come his way is because he's worked hard for it. To say I have a lot of respect for Juan is putting it mildly. But enough of me telling you about him. Let's just get to the podcast and you can hear what he has to say and learn all about him yourself. Enjoy. So I'd like to welcome Juan Carlos Mendoza to the Meinl Radio podcast. Dude, what is up? Thank you for being a part of this.
Absolutely, man. I'm very honored to be part of this podcast, my man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's 10 o'clock in the morning here. I've got a fresh cup of Joe. It's my second for the day, so I'm good. I can't complain.
Oh, man. 2 already? You're a beast.
Dude, I'll have 4 before the day's done.
Wow.
I mean, is that a lot?
I mean, I don't really drink coffee, so I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I guess it's a lot.
Well, I'm the kind of guy that can drink a cup right before I go to bed. It's sort of weird.
Ah, okay. You're like conditioned, like straight up.
Dude, conditioned is the perfect word. If I don't have a cup of coffee by like 7:30 in the morning, I'll get a piercing headache behind one of my eyes, and I can't get rid of it no matter what I do the whole day. So it's all about conditioning and timing. There could be worse addictions to have, you know?
Oh, absolutely. It reminds me of like my school, you know, like I see all the teachers with their big cups of Dunkin' Donuts, and if they don't have it, they're miserable for a couple of hours.
Oh yeah, that's a real thing. So man, I'd like to ask you a question that I just realized when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk to you about. You know, I guess I should say that for anybody that has listened to this podcast often, you probably notice that I try not to ask the standard questions. I think that stuff's been asked way too many times. So I'm not doing it to be like, to try and be different. I legitimately want to ask some different stuff. But here's a question I've never asked you, and it's a standard question, so I'm going to throw this out there first and get it out of the way. Now, what was the moment where you caught the bug and you decided to play drums?
I think the moment was just being able to, like, going to church with my parents and then just seeing the actual instrument being played, I think was the biggest thing. And that was like at maybe like 2 or 3 years old. But I think I really caught the bug, to be honest with you, after I watched Dave Weckle's Back to Basics video on VHS. So I dated myself right there. But I think that changed everything for me, for sure.
Now, wait. So usually a kid will pick up drumsticks, maybe get a set of drums from their mom and dad, and the first thing they do is try and bash out like a Blink-182 song or something to that effect. But like, you went straight for the Dave Weckle VHS.
Well, yeah. So this is what happened. So like, I was in middle school, and you know, like in the States, we get everything here for free, at least most of it, you know. So I went to Puerto Rico, and my cousin, a guy that I really look up to, and he's a musician. And he asked me, you know, how's the school band going, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, it's okay. I don't really like it because I'm on a practice pad, you know, and I want to be on a drum set the whole time. And he literally pretty much said, hey, you're stupid. Like, we got to pay for that stuff here. Like, do me a favor. Promise me you'll go back. I'm going to show you a video. And if this doesn't inspire you, then I'll let you quit. Kind of like that kind of vibe. So then he, you know, put Dave Weckle. I didn't know what he was at the time, you know. I put it on, and I was like, wow, like drums actually sound like that? You know what I mean? Because from what I was hearing at church was, like 2-beat kind of things and, real basic idea things. And plus his drums sounded like nothing I've ever heard before, and I was just like, wow, you can make drums sound that good? And then from there on, I was just kind of hooked, man. So before that, I was just listening to like, regular, rock music. And, I was listening to, there was this guy called Ron Canoli, and it was cool because Ron Canoli had all the LA session guys on his stuff. So he had like Alex Acuna on there. He had, who else? Chester Thompson was on there. And all this LA like session guys were playing this music, and it was intricate and it was cool, but it never hit me like once I saw Dave Weckl and just that Back to Basics video just changed everything, man. Like everything.
So the guy that you just mentioned, now I'm going to try and say his name, Ron Canoli, like is in the Italian dessert.
No, he's actually African American, man.
No. I don't mean he's an Italian dessert. I mean his last name sounds like the Italian dessert, like cannoli.
Oh, exactly like that, but it's Kenolly.
Cannoli. Okay, totally understood. Okay, so and how did you discover this artist?
So we were playing stuff in church that was based off of Ron Canoli's music, and the cool thing is like at that time he was like a pioneer because he had like video cassettes of like his concerts, and everything was live. So everything that you heard on the record was actually a live performance. And everything was perfect, man. Like, because everybody was reading charts, and that was one thing my dad was always about, on me too. He was like, "Listen, if you're gonna play, like, I want you to read because I want you to be able to open up as many avenues for yourself as possible." So, and my dad doesn't read music, like he's a great guitarist, but he was like, one regret that I've had was that I never learned how to read music, and I don't want that to happen to you. And I always kept that in my head, And I saw Chester Thompson reading music, and I was like, you know what? If he's reading music, I'm going to do it too. There's a reason why he's on that stage, That's the way I saw it.
Yeah, no, that was pretty smart of your dad to tell you that.
Yeah, it was good. It was good advice, and I think it's still important, to this day.
Now, I don't remember it's kind of hard for me to remember that Weckl video. What was his look at the time?
Oh, he had the mullet. Like the straight up mullet. He had like a cut off T-shirt. I think he had like all black, and then he might have had like those ballerina shoes, and I think they were black. Yeah, I think it was all black, and and then at some point of the video he had white ones on, I think. But
I wonder what made him decide. I wonder what made him go, "All right, guys, time to change to the white shoes."
Oh man, you know what it was? I think he was doing foot technique exercises or something.
Oh, hey, well then that's smart. He's got to highlight the shoes and show you what it's all about. And
absolutely.
Poor Dave, man. The guy has gotten a lot of grief over the years for some of his looks, but that's unfortunate because the musicianship is just from another planet.
Oh, just on another level, and he's still killing it, man. He's still inspirational to me and many others for sure.
Have you met him?
Yeah, I did the first drum fantasy camp, which was in Jersey, and it was him, Steve Smith, Horacio Hernandez, who else was there? Jason Bittner was there, and then all the guys from the collective were there. So it was huge, man. It was a lot of people, and I got to play with them, and Baron Brown was there. Like pretty much all of Vital Information was there. That was like the jam band for that night, and I had a great time, man. It was really fun.
But you got to meet Dave, the guy that really like put the bug in you to play drums. Was he cool?
Absolutely. Oh, it was kind of terrifying. It was cool because like I kind of knew what to expect a little bit as far as like he would. So his master class was like, all right, first thing you have to do is set up your drum set ergonomically before you come up here and play, because you would play with Dave during these master classes and or this camp. And what was funny was like, guys would just go up there and like not set anything up, like not move anything. And Dave was real adamant about being ergonomic with your setup. And guys would go up there, and then I would see Dave like he wouldn't get upset, but he was like annoyed that people weren't listening, So anyway, so then I went up there. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get comfortable and see what's up. And I got to play in front of him, and he stopped me and he said, you see, like that's what you need to do. And, it just gave me compliments, and I was just like, wow, I guess I'm on the right track kind of thing, And I was like on cloud 9, and that kind of happened throughout the whole weekend because like Horacio was another influence in like, I guess you want to say like drumming idol for me. And I got to jam with him, and he was like, yeah, just keep going. And the same thing happened with Steve Smith. Because I always, I was like, I'm investing in this. I want to ask, like, what can I improve on or whatever? And they were all like, you're on the right path, man. Like, just keep going. And it was inspirational for me. Like, after that camp, I just kept pushing and trying to go towards the goal, at the end of the day.
That's awesome. I love hearing stuff like that. I love hearing that the guy that made you really want to play was cool to you and treated you well, because I've heard horror stories otherwise.
Yeah,
not about him, but just about, other people and their influences.
Yeah, and it's you hear it all the time. It's like there's always somebody like, oh, that guy's a jerk, blah blah, and then until you experience it, like maybe he just had a bad day, like you don't know if he's been on a plane for like 14 hours, and didn't get any sleep. It's just a lot of factors, especially kind of in the game now. I kind of figure like, man, like just people have bad days. Like it's not a big deal. So
people seem to have more bad days these days.
Yeah, I know.
It's weird. So, man, I initially met you from the 2012 Guitar Center Drum-Off National Championship in LA, and that's where our bromance began. But I recently found out that prior to that competition that you'd been competing in one way or another for a while. If I went down like a cursory listing of some things that I've read that you've done as far as competitions are concerned, you were the best soloist at age 13 in a competition that happened in Niagara Falls, and this was for instrumentalists competing on other instruments. And you won the Drum Corps Association World Championship and the Best Percussion title with the Syracuse Brigadiers in 2002. You won the Drum Corps Association Snare Drum Champion Award, where you beat out a bunch of other snare drummers. That was also in 2002. So because of these other competitions that you had previously been a part of, was competing in the Guitar Center Drum-Off Finals relatively low pressure, or did you still have major nerves?
No, I think it definitely had nerves. It depended on the year, you know what I mean? Like when I first competed, I didn't know what this whole thing was about. I didn't really read the rules too much or whatever. I just had a friend kind of go up to me and say, "Hey, you should do this," and I was like, "All right, cool." And then I saw how serious people were really taking it and seeing what the prizes were. So anyway, like I would say by the end of it, I took it very seriously, and I tried to imagine myself like at the finals, and like my practice room was the actual finals room. And then I just tried to prepare myself as best as I could. And I mean, it was tough because like Eric and Prado went on first, and he just smashed, and it was just like, oh man, like I got to follow that. And I don't know how I'm going to follow that, but I just I knew I practiced enough, and I knew I had a pretty good routine. And I was just like, you know what, like, at this point, it is what it is, because that was the last year I was going to do it. To be quite frank, I was done with the competition because there was some politics in there, with judging. But for me, it was just like I was getting married and I wanted to get a house, and I was like, this might be the way to get a down payment for a house. And I was like, I put all my marbles in that basket, at least at that point, and I just worked my tail off, man. Dude,
please tell me that you did indeed take those earnings and make a down payment on a home with them.
Oh, absolutely. I saved it, and now I have my house and my studio, and that was the goal. I'm very goal orientated. Like I write things down, and I make sure I have a plan, and I try to stick through to it at least the majority of the time. So, but I definitely did, and I'm sitting in my studio right now in my house, which is awesome.
Dude, that's killer. I mean, I've heard of some guys who've won that money and they've literally just wasted it. It was gone before they could even have a second thought. So the fact that you knew ahead of time that you were going to take it and put on a down payment's incredible. I love hearing that.
Well, thanks, man. And the thing is, like, people need to understand, like, you got to pay taxes on that stuff too. So you have to save that money, because you're not going to get 25 grand, essentially, because you got to pay whatever the taxes are.
Right. Exactly. Next year you have to count it as part of your earnings. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and then that includes all the gear that you won too. So it was like 50 grand that you have to kind of claim, Wow. It's a lot of money. Yeah.
There's been a few people that never even occurred to them, and the next year they get hit with taxes and they're going, what the heck, man?
I know.
Well,
And I try to tell people that, like when they were competing, like, hey, make sure you save your money because you're going to need to pay taxes on this stuff. I know they don't tell you that, but you need to make sure you save your coins.
they really, like, GC didn't prep you for that. They didn't give you that information.
Not really, really, not really. Yeah.
Wow, that's weird. Well, they've got a lot of details. Who knows? Maybe that one escaped them. Although that's a pretty important detail.
Yeah.
I do need to know about when you won the best soloist at 13 in Niagara Falls. Now, if I'm understanding this right, this was you competing on another instrument, not the one that you were proficient in. So, or mainly proficient in. Is that right? So what was the other instrument?
So what happened was it was like a best soloist for the whole festival, and it was in Niagara Falls. And I didn't even know I was in it, to be honest with you. Like, it was more like a warm-up song, so it wasn't, like, supposed to count as, like, a competition song. And they gave me a solo, whatever. I was on a drum set, and I didn't think anything of it, because most of those festivals, usually saxophonists or trumpets or, any of those wind instruments usually win. Like, percussionists never win. And, I'm in 7th, 8th grade, just sitting there, just chilling, and then all of a sudden, my name is announced for, like, the overall one, and I was like, what? And I was competing against, like, high school kids and, middle school kids, and it kind of, like, all right, man, like, maybe I can make a living doing this, Like, I guess I do have some sort of talent.
Wow.
So
that's pretty nice to get shown something like that at age 13.
Yeah, and it was. I still have the trophy, man. It's in my parents' house, and it's pretty big. I think that's what freaked me out the most was that the trophy was huge, and I was like, wow, like this is like a big deal, I guess, So, yeah, it was good. It was a good experience. I mean, and it was cool because my middle school that I was going to is the middle school that I actually teach in now, which is crazy. So I have to kind of try to give back to the community, like as much as they gave back to me, which is to me the driving force for all this stuff, to be honest with you. So, yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, I need to know, it sounds like you've got quite the competitive streak within you. Is it something that even to this day, like all that competitiveness that you had previously, do you still have it? And if so, how is it harnessed now?
Oh, man. I think for me, it's like the competitive thing was more to just prove myself that I can do something, like it wasn't about beating other people. It was mostly like, how much work can I get done in this time frame, and how successful can I be with it? And whatever the cards like fall, like they fall. But if I can like build myself throughout the process, like to me, that was the most important thing, was that process. It was just like, all right, if I have to, for example, I don't know, like save some money, a certain amount of money, is like, am I going to be able to do that? And I think those competitions just help me in life in general, just to complete goals. And the same thing with, the university. Like my parents never went to the university, and, I have a master's degree. I graduated, with a 4.0. So, and it's not like I'm a genius, you know what I mean? Like it was just more that I just worked my tail off, so I don't know, man. I just think the competitions were more to help me with the process of life in general.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It also just gives you something to shoot for. Like you said, you write down goals for yourself, and you've got to meet them. So
absolutely.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. All right, I've got a really important question that's been on my mind, and I don't think I've ever asked you this one, and I've always meant to.
Okay.
So I have to ask, having been involved in the drum corps world for some time, do you remember the movie American Pie?
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, so one of the characters in the movie is played by an actress named Allison Hannigan, and she plays flute. And we eventually learn that Allison's character is very comfortable with her sexuality. She's always trying to tell stories that begin with the sentence, "this one time at band camp." And she eventually spills the beans on what actually happens at band camp, saying something like, "Yeah, it's basically sex ed." So I gotta know, dude, is band camp possibly as perverse as her character lets on that it is, or is that like not really the deal?
Oh man, this is a tough one to answer. I've seen some bad stuff. I'll tell you that. It could be. It depends on how good the chaperones are. I'll tell you that.
You've seen some you've seen some chaperones that just kind of look the other way.
Yeah, I've heard some shady stories too. Like I've heard stories, it's funny because like my barber is one of my former students. So from time to time, he'll tell me a story. I'm like, that happened, and I didn't know about it. So there's definitely stuff that goes down in those camps, and just in general. There's only so many eyes you have, and you can't possibly watch everybody, and things definitely go under the radar for sure.
Yeah, I guess you get a bunch of teenage kids together for a week or two at a time. Yeah, of course, that's the way it works.
And dude. And trust me, man, we try our best, and they're just slick, man. They're smart. They know what to do, and with technology now, forget it. So it's they're very smart and savvy, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I got that question out of the way. It's been bugging me for years now. I've always meant to ask you.
Yeah. Well, when we talk personally, I'll tell you some stories.
All right,
for sure.
Deal. So, man, regarding teaching in middle school, I got to know about kids these days on that level. What's the level of interest that kids have for music in general these days? And are there still just as many kids playing music, generally into music, or is that becoming less and less?
For me, I think it comes down, and brutally honest, it comes down to the teacher. Like, if the teacher is chill and the teacher is cool and can relate to the student will draw himself closer to the instrument for sure. Like, for example, like right now I have about 120 kids in the middle school. And the middle school is not that big. It's probably like, we got about 1,000 kids in the middle school, which is not big considering what our high school is. But I think they find interest. I think the hardest part is keeping their interest. Because there's so many things going on in the school districts now. You have so many programs. You'll have like TV production, theater, general music, like vocal, and just sports in general. I mean, and we've been competing with sports, forever. So, or all those programs. So it's just a matter of really making the connection. I think that's what it ultimately comes down to, because kids love music. It's just, you can't be antiquated with your techniques and, this is the only way to do it. Like, you have to relate it to what they're doing or what they're experiencing in their current situation. So if you can do that, I think you have them. And especially if you get them like early, like 5th grade, like you'll get them for the rest of the 3-4 years.
And what do you, so literally what are your classes called that you teach?
I teach band. I teach instrumental music. That's what I teach. Now with this whole situation going on in the States, or the global pandemic, I have no idea what's going on. I'm still going to be teaching basic concepts, music concepts, and then hopefully we're supposed to be going back in November as far as in person, or they're going to reevaluate it. And then once we get into that, then we'll actually start playing instruments the whole day. So
when you say instrumental music, so you may have one section of the 9 weeks or whatever that's devoted to learning how, like, basics on a recorder or piano, or like, give me an example of what, like, a block of time.
Okay. So essentially, the way it works in my school is we have all mixed classes. So we'll have a 5th grade. And in that 5th grade, let's say, it's essentially like a beginner band class. So I have flutes, clarinets, alto saxes, trumpets, trombones, tuba, percussion, all the instruments pretty much. And then we all work off of a method book. And in that method book, everyone's learning the same notes as far as pitch-wise. But some people will have different notes. So, for example, like a clarinet will be playing, let's say, C, but it's actually a B flat on a flute. But it's going to sound the same. So it's all unison kind of things in the beginning. And then you're trying to teach all the techniques, to all the students in a matter of 45 minutes every day. And it's taxing because, like, if you're not, like, proficient or just don't know the instrument, well, like, the class can get bored really quickly. But because I've been doing it for a while, I think this is my year 17 at this point. I've been doing it for a while, so I know what to say already. It's kind of pre-programmed as far as, like, I already know what they're going to ask before they even ask. And then I do that pretty much all day. And then every class is a little bit more proficient. So, like, let's say by the time they're in 8th grade, they're playing some decent stuff, and we're actually playing, like, ensemble music, trying to get ready for concerts and assemblies and different community events and stuff like that. So it's an exhausting day for sure, mentally for sure.
Dude, I don't know how you're going to do that on virtual learning. That's really interesting.
Yeah, well, I think it's like anything else. You got to learn how to adjust. I think for me, what I'm going to do is I probably have like breakout rooms. So I'll have each instrument at a time and according to levels, and then just teach the class like that. And then I know how to video edit too. So that helps out a lot as well. So it's like anything else, man. You just make adjustments. It's life at the end of the day. You just make your adjustments and make it happen. People don't care about that. They just want to care. They care about the result, and it's like, how are we going to get to that result? And you just have to do research and get into some forums and get some tips. Like I get tips all the time from like a middle school band director group that I follow on Facebook. Great tips. And people are going through the same thing that I'm going through. So I just get a bunch of tips and lesson plans and stuff like that. And you make it work. People are very vigilant, and we just make it happen. That's what teachers do at the end of the day.
Hell yeah, you do. I've got a lot of respect for you guys. It's the things that are being asked of all of you right now are incredible. And it's the same thing in the immediate community that I live in. It's pretty neat to see everybody rising to the challenge. And I'm happy to see a lot of the parents that are trying to make the teachers' lives easier too. Of course, you get those groups of parents where nothing's ever going to be good enough for them or for their kids in their minds, but you just kind of have to tune them out and work with all the positive ones. Exactly.
And it's like anything in life. You always have that negative bunch and you have the positive bunch. It's just what group do you want to be part of? If you got to choose wisely.
Yeah. So what's been your most, up until this time, what's been your most favorite moment teaching kids music in school?
Oh, man. I think for me, it's mostly seeing them not be like believing what I'm about to show them. I say, all right, guys, we're gonna use this composition. It's gonna take like 3 months to do it, and then they all kind of just say, "There's no way." And then I said, "Trust me, trust the process." And then I always record like the beginning so that they can see like how bad it is, and then they can see the process of what they came out with. And I think we did that last year, which is real cool. I had a couple students, like a big group of students. They're like, all right, there's no way we're going to play this composition. We just started playing instruments. I said, you guys are going to do it. Trust me. I got you. I got your back. And recorded it. And then towards the end, before this whole thing went down, I recorded their last performance. And I was like, look, guys, you guys have it, essentially. We just have to fine tune it. And we were ready to present it to the concert. But unfortunately, the pandemic went down. But for me, it was just stuff like that happens all the time where like students they don't believe that they're able to do something. And I don't know whether that is because their parents don't believe in them or other teachers don't believe in them. But I always try to go, let's go, you can do it, because I'm a kid from the ghetto. I didn't grow up in the best of places. And I relate to them because I'm teaching where I grew up in. So it's like, listen, man, I'll tell them like, yeah, I went to Sweden, I went here, I went there, and they're like, no way. And I'm like, yeah, I'm from Amboy. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do what you want to do. Like, I'm living proof, and I'm here trying to do the same thing and inspire you guys to hopefully, rise up to your dreams and do it. It's just going to take hard work. So, yeah.
So I've not been to Amboy before. Are you telling me that's a bad area?
Yeah, it's not the greatest of areas. I know it's not super, super ghetto, but it's not a place where everyone wants to be. Let's say that. It's very diverse as far as like there's a lot of minorities. There's not a lot of white people for sure, but it's so culturally diverse, man. And that's the one thing I loved about it, because like when I was growing up in this town, like I was listening to everything. Like I was listening to rap music, I was listening to hip hop, I was listening to Latin music, I was listening to bachata, Afro-Cuban music. Like that's how diverse it was. So for me, it's a place that like I call home. It really is home for me, and I love it, man. Is
there a difference between Amboy and Perth Amboy?
Oh yeah, that's Perth Amboy. Yeah, we call it Amboy. That's why.
Okay.
So yeah, but it's a great town. It really is. It has a lot of history to it. Like this is where the first African American actually voted, was in Perth Amboy. So we have a lot of history in Perth Amboy for sure.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah. And Bon Jovi was born in Perth Amboy. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, I knew he was from up there. I don't think I knew Perth Amboy, but yeah, that's funny. What a claim to fame.
Yeah, right?
I mean,
exactly.
Dude, well, come on. The guy's accomplished a lot. So, yeah, that's a good hometown hero to have.
Absolutely.
Now, what's been your biggest challenge teaching kids music in school?
Oh, man. It's consistency, having them practice. And it's not because they don't want to practice. It's most of them live in apartments or they share homes with people and they can't practice. So I think that's the biggest one, man. It's just, and again, it's not like they don't want to practice. It's just they can't. Or the living situation is like they go home and they have to cook for their brothers and sisters, or they have to go pick them up first and then they cook. They clean the house. They do all adult things. Like they grow up too fast. Like they're adults. They're little adults. By the time they're in high school, they know how to cook. They know how to wash clothes. They know how to do everything an adult should know how to do. And I think that's the problem. It's just the mindset is it's more of like, all right, learn how to do these skills, and by the time you're 16 or 15, you're gonna go get a job so you can help me pay my bills. Or help with the bills. So that's the hardest part about working in the town, at least for me. And it breaks my heart because I see the potential in a lot of these kids, but they don't maximize that potential because they're held back by their circumstance, unfortunately.
Dude, that's insane. So you're telling me that you've got plenty of middle schoolers who are doing everything?
Absolutely, they're doing everything. Like when I'm talking about like taking care of their little brother and sister, like they're legitimately taking care of their little brother and sister while mom's, at work, and a lot of the kids that I have are single parent, single parent homes. So they're forced to be dad. They're forced to be mom, and unfortunately that's how it is. Or they'll stay with their grandma, or grandparents while mom's working the whole day. And, it's unfortunate.
I can't imagine what this pandemic has done as far as the added pressure. I mean, school would be such a nice outlet for them to get away from that kind of workload and just exercise their brain, free up their mind. And, because, I mean, I get it. They're having to do this, but it's unfortunate. No kid should have to.
Yeah.
And so then to be home with this all the time, wow, man, that's heavy.
It's heavy, dude, and it's tough. Like I had one student who was phenomenal student, and once we went remotely, I didn't hear from him. He kind of disappeared, and I would email him and be like, "Hey, man, you okay?" Et cetera, et cetera. And then finally, his sister came, sent me an email. He's like, "Hey, I'm the sister of so and so. He's not doing too good. Like mentally, he's just he had to go see a psychiatrist and everything. Like." He just wasn't built for remote, sessions and just the whole thing kind of just killed him. So I'm sure that's going around all over, the world. And I just felt bad because, like, I would never expect that student to be feeling like that, because in my classroom, he was just a great kid. Like, he would do all the work. He was very cool. He was chill. And I would have never thought... And that's the thing, like once that kind of happened, it was just like, man, we gotta be open to what these kids are feeling. Like it's not about work; it's about like how are they doing mentally first before we start giving them all this work and all these assignments. Like then I kind of think about like we didn't have state testing this year, and I'm like, how important really is that? You know what I mean? Like do we really need these state assessments to tell students that they're smart or they're idiots or whatever? It's like, why do we need these things? Like, what's the point? I know we have to gauge our understanding of certain materials, but it's like we've put all that in front of the actual emotional part of the social emotional learning aspect, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I have a good friend who's the executive director of the biggest camp here in Middle Tennessee, and he's phenomenal at his job. He's consulted for a lot of other camp directors around the country. They all call on him because he managed to keep his camp open the entire summer this summer, except for overnight camp. And he and I were talking about this at some point, and he said, you know what, man? If this entire world had kept kids at the forefront of all of the decision making, and if every decision was made with kids in mind first, he said, man, think about how far we'd be through this already. And think about how much better off we'd all be because we decided we were going to look out for the kids first. And, you know, I don't really know what that looks like on the ground, what those decisions would be. But I can only imagine, yes, if you're trying to keep kids at the forefront of your mind and your decisions, that everything probably would be a lot better off.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Especially like now, having a kid of my own, it's like I'd do anything for my child, you know, and whatever's gonna make her excel or be better, like it just makes my life that much easier and that much more fulfilling at the end of the day. But, you know, you got these billion-dollar corporations that want to sell you this textbook or this sort of curriculum. And, you know, everyone has to make a living. I get it. But it's like, man, like, it's not about you, man. It's about the future. Like, We're going to die eventually. Like, where are we going to leave this world, you know? So,
yeah, I don't think a lot of people think about it as far as the long game goes, you know?
Yeah.
But, now I need to know, how much of your time outside of teaching school does your business of filming lessons, teaching Skype lessons, hosting master classes, writing instructional drum books, how much time does that all take? And is it almost like having a second full-time job?
Oh, absolutely. I think I work more once I get home, to be honest with you, because I'll get home and I'll try to film a certain amount of material, and then my wife will get home, and then I'll try to spend some time with her and my daughter before they go to bed. And then I'm up, at least till like 11, midnight, just trying to get materials done. So it takes a lot. I feel like I have 2 full-time jobs, like legit, and I don't even know how I do it, to be honest with you. I just, like I said, like before coming full circle, it's just I have goals, and I'm just going to fulfill them somehow. And I'll sacrifice whatever I got to sacrifice, at least in the beginning, except my family. I won't sacrifice that. And I'll just see what's important throughout the week. Even with like private lessons, like I've gotten to the point where I had so many students where I had to take a break because I was just like, listen, guys, like I'm going to put people on waiting lists because I just can't. I'm not going to sacrifice my family for it. You know, because money's money at the end of the day, you know. You'll always find a way to get income. It's just, but those moments, like if I would have missed out on certain moments with my daughter, I probably would have kicked myself, you know? So,
you definitely would have kicked yourself. I mean, that's the thing, man. You can't get your time back. That's it. Time is, I say it all the time, time is the greatest commodity we all have because you can't get it back. And
absolutely,
once it's gone, and you look up and it's been 10 years. And so, yeah, I mean, you're a smart man for thinking that way. I mean, you get it. Of course you get it.
Dude.
Out of all that work you do that's not school related, but is part of your educational, your side gig, which is also your second full-time job, which part of it do you like the most? I mean, do you really just like, it doesn't even feel like work? Is it the editing? Is it setting up the lighting? Is it, you know what I mean? There's so much that goes into it that people don't see at the end of the day.
Oh man, I think for me it's the content, you know, and knowing that I'm going to present something that I feel is going to benefit people all over the world. I think that's my biggest high, man. Like, to be honest with you, it's just like, because what happens is like once I put all this stuff together, and I know it's like a composition. That's the way I look at it, you know, like the lighting has to be right, and how are you going to put all these camera angles together correctly, and how are you going to, you know, edit all the material to make it feel like it's seamless. I think that process is amazing to me, but the biggest thing is just getting messages from like people from all over the world, like India and Africa and just places that are remote. You know, there are some countries that I never even heard of, like that I had students from like these master classes from all over the world, and I was just like, what? Like, you guys are actually here, and invested money in not only in me, but in yourselves. And I had one student who had like, I don't know if you know, but like, you ever seen like those alphabet kind of things that go on the floor, like those mats?
Yes.
Okay. So that was his practice pad, man. And he essentially said, hey man, I got a new practice pad. I can't wait. I'm going to go into this master class, whatever. I'm like, cool. And when I saw his master class, his pad, like, it broke my heart, man. I was like, we're so spoiled here in the States, man. Like, and you got people here from, these remote countries that are just happy to have something to play on. And to me, that's what drives me the most. It's just being able to impact people in a positive light all over the world, man. And as corny as that may sound, like to some people, like to me, it hits me because I grew up with nothing as well. So I can relate to what is going on in their lives, to an extent, because obviously, some of these guys are living in like, shacks and stuff like that. So,
yeah.
So it's mind blowing, man. But it's all about the content for me, man. I think that's what drives me the most. It's just making sure that I have content that's going to help people out that don't have the resource to, to find it anywhere else.
Well, I need to know when things shut down in March and people had a lot more time on their hands, did you see online drum lessons shoot up?
For me personally, yeah, absolutely. I'm sure for everybody. But for me, it wasn't, because here's the thing, like for me, it wasn't like a goal to get all these students, because I had a pretty good chunk of students, and I've been doing this for a long time, but it definitely gone up. I think the biggest thing that killed me that I didn't like seeing was just everybody all of a sudden was a drum teacher. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
And I get it.
No, I got to tell you this. The way that it was related to me was I was talking to one particular drum teacher, and he goes, dude, imagine one morning, just one morning in particular, you wake up and suddenly Meinl's in competition with about 500 small little Turkish brands that just decided to pop up the day before. And he said, that's what it's like for me right now. And he said, I just woke up and suddenly there's about 500 drummers who are all of a sudden drum teachers. And he wasn't really worried by it. It was just kind of like, whoa. It was, I guess it's more like clutter that people have to sift through, to get to what he does.
Yep. And I think that's what it is. And the thing is, like, you can't fool people. Like, people will know. People will know if you're doing this for money or if you're doing it because you have good intentions and you really want to help them out in their career. And I think this is where brand comes into play. It's like, what is it that you really want to do? And you have to be consistent with that, and you have to be genuine with what you're doing, and you have to make sure you're doing everything with quality and making sure that your content is actually going to help people and not just, a flashy thing, that's going to, get you as an Instagram star or whatever. So you just got to be responsible with this stuff,
Now, how much do you, I can't remember actually, do you have content that people can download and buy, like lesson packs?
Yeah, I have all that stuff on my website. And then I kind of put that on the back burner just a little bit because I was writing the new book. I had so many projects going on, man. Like, I took this time, like the pandemic time, to really like focus on projects that I needed to get done. So you can get all that stuff on my website. But I think the last lesson I put up there was maybe like 2 months ago or something like that. But it's usually like real high quality, like at least 30-minute lessons, and everything has PDF files, and some material has like loops and stuff that you can just download with the actual. I sell it as a package. I try not to sell everything separate. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, I want everything to kind of be all in one lesson, and here, everything that I played on this lesson, this is all yours too. So you can go and go to town with it.
Dude, and I got to say, man, if there was anybody out there who was thinking of dipping their toe in the water or just jumping in all the way and trying to all of a sudden be an online educator, if they really, really wanted to look and see what they had to contend with, like what the competition looks like, I mean, the bar is set at the level of work that you put out. There's a couple of other guys that put out content that's just as beautiful as yours and sounds great, and the playing is great, and they're delivery is great. There's a few of you guys out there, and you're certainly one of them. And so I would tell anybody who's listening that if they're like, gee, I think I'll make a buck, teaching some online lessons. Well, okay, it's one thing to just set up and have a Skype thing and whatever. I mean, okay, that's fine. But if you really, really wanted to like put it out there and try and make something of it, they'd have to know they'd have to take a look at what you do, because man, it's all beautiful. The playing, the lighting, the actual what you're actually teaching. So yeah, hats off to you.
Thanks, man. And it's a constant improvement thing too. Like you're always learning, and I look at videos from like, let's say like even like 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm like, man, I could have done that better. I could have done this. I could have done that. But you just have to go and do it. I tell people all the time,
learning by doing.
Absolutely. Or just go do it. Like people are scared to even like pull the trigger on it. I'm just like, go do it. You have all the resources you need. You literally have a phone that can record in 4K. All you need is one camera angle, and then just get like a little mini recorder, and just start that way and slowly build up, This didn't happen overnight, for sure. Like as soon as I won the drum off, it was like, all right, I knew I had to get into video editing. I knew I had to get into camera, lighting, all that stuff. And I just went, and I look at my videos from like the first ones. I'm like, this is trash. Like the content's good, but like the way I presented it was trash compared to what it is now. But you can't be afraid of just going for it.
No, not at all. You can't. Well, I've got one more question for you, and this is your chance. I give a lot of people this chance. Here is your chance to completely, without shame, self-promote. So what's the latest and greatest that people should know about you right now? You can tell them where to go and download content, where to download your books. Just give them the scoop so they know where to go and give you money. And I don't really mean give you money, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, the biggest thing is my website, carlitomendoza.com. I have all the lessons there. My book is available there. I have a couple of mini ebooks there, lesson packs. I have master classes. I have live webinars that I actually I recorded that people can actually, that they couldn't attend. They can still see the webinar. The webinars there. I have my YouTube channel, youtube.com/jmensticks. And just Instagram, my name, Juan Carlito Mendoza. Those are the 3 biggest ones. I usually try to just keep everything between there. And my Facebook channel, I do some live streams there too. So facebook.com and then /Juan Carlito Mendoza. And that's pretty much it as far as like shameless plugs there. But I have a couple projects going on, that I just finished. So Rudiment Creativity Volume 2 should be done. I just finished writing it and recording it. Sending it to get mixed and mastered this month. And then next month, they're going to clean it up in InDesign, Adobe InDesign. And then hopefully by November, it should be out, or December. I try to be realistic with my time releases. And then the whole studio is about to get a overhaul, bro. Like, it's going to be insane. Like, the whole studio is going to look different. Like, everything you see now is going to look completely different. And that's going to be courtesy of Audimute. And I'm really stoked about that. And then I have a trio album. Well, it's like an EP / play-along album that's going to have transcriptions. Actually, the transcription's already done. And Tim Buell did all the transcriptions, the guy who does all the Vic Firth, the VF Jam stuff or the Zildjian Live stuff, whatever it is. And that's going to have charts with it as well, drumless tracks, bassless tracks, and guitarless tracks. So I got a lot of stuff going on, man. It's crazy.
Dude, good for you. I'm glad to hear it, man. And so if people were to go to your YouTube channel, the people that want to test the water, so to speak, before they spend any money, they go to Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram. They can get a really good feel for what they would get if they went to your website and decided to make a purchase, right? Absolutely.
I would say that times like 3, I would say.
Wow.
Because I go even more in depth with the way I see it is, if you're going to invest money, like, I want you to really have a lot of material that you can really grasp and hopefully get into. So I try, like, YouTube it's really good. Like, it's pretty close, but like it's even better than that for sure.
Wow, that's great. Dude, Carlito, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. And yeah, it's really good to speak again. It's been too long.
Absolutely. Too long, man. Hope you're feeling better, man. I know the last time at NAMM you got sick, man. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I did. I actually think that I had, now that I look back on it, I think I actually had COVID. All my symptoms were completely concurrent with it, but we just didn't know at the time that that's what it would have been.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, everything's good. I'm totally healthy, happy to be here. Everything's good. So yeah, man, thank you so much, Carlito.
Thank you, brother. And dude, thank you for the Foundry Reserve stuff, man. Those things don't come off my drum set. They don't come off, man. Those things are killer.
They're great cymbals, man. I'm glad you're digging them.
Oh my God, bro, the best cymbals I have ever, for sure.
Wow, that's a pretty ringing endorsement right there.
Oh, for real. And that's not even like, trying to sugarcoat things. Like, go try out those Foundry Reserve cymbals. They'll change everything.
Right on. You heard it. Go try them. All right, dude. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Thanks for listening to Meinl Radio. If you liked this episode, please head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. We would appreciate it very much. Thanks, and we'll see you soon.